In the frozen wilderness of Yellowstone National Park, 2 young volunteers are on the hunt for wolves.
2 bars toward antelope.
They're looking for what's known as the blacktail pack. They haven't been seen for days.
It's a good place to start looking if you see a group of elk that are bunched up, tight together, and are all looking in one area, looking pretty concerned.
It's a good giveaway there's wolves in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Finally, the pack is spotted across a valley.
This is so exciting to us that I don't think we can even explain it.
Wolves were once not only eradicated from the park, but hunted to the edge of extinction in the United States. But today, Yellowstone's wolves are thriving. Brenner and Kirsten are monitoring this pack's killing rates and group dynamics, and along the way they get to know them as individuals, like Wolf 693.
She has always been kind of testy with other females. Just something you kind of notice. She's been watched ever since she was 9 months old, at least. And it's just kind of a little quirk in her personality.
Wolf 693 is just part of a highly controversial program that's repopulating this entire region with grey wolf packs.
The recovery effort went better than we thought.
Doug Smith is the National Park's biologist who led the reintroduction project.
Well, this is a map of where the wolves are in Yellowstone Park, and it's old school and it gets the job done.
Doug has been keeping track of wolves here since they were released into the park and neighbouring Idaho nearly 20 years ago.
And then all these packs out here started from in the park and wolves moving out. So what wolves do is very similar to people, is a pair of unrelated individuals get together, they have offspring, we call them pups, they grow up. Like a person, when they reach 18 years of age, they leave home, go to school, get a job, start their own life somewhere else. Wolves do the exact same thing, and that's how all these packs form. Because remember, there were no wolves here in this area 30, 35 years ago. Now we've got 1,700.
So successful was the recovery program that the reintroduced wolves are now reclaiming habitat across the northern and western United States. And many people are getting very uncomfortable with their spread. 500 kilometres from Yellowstone, on the edge of this vast forest in northern Idaho, is the town of Kamiah. It's a hub for the local hunting industry.
Living in here is deer tracks. We used to have a good elk herd here on my property. It probably used to average about 18. Last year we had 3 elk left, and this year we have none.
Mike Popp makes a living leading hunters into the forest to find elk and other game.
And there was one moose, which is good to see. There's deer there.
The elk population here has been literally decimated, down to 1/10 of its former count.
It's the biggest wildlife disaster the lower 48 has ever seen.
Mike and other hunters saw what was happening deep in the forests in the early years of the wolf's return, and they pleaded for the wolf hunting bans to be lifted.
We fought and fought, and it took them 13 years to let us hunt. Then we had short seasons, we had small limits, and the wolf populations got to be so dense and out of control. The number of wolves that we were harvesting didn't make a dent.
But Mike's not giving up just yet. He's preparing once again to set some wolf traps during the short season.
I find on pre-baiting or pre-scenting that when you use either wolf urine or coyote urine, it really helps.
Can I ask where the hell you get wolf urine from?
I think this is out of Minnesota. Evidently someone that's got a really cooperative wolf, huh?
Uh-huh.
Wolves are incredibly difficult to trap or shoot. Not only do they have keen senses, but they're highly intelligent. Mike and I set off on foot to look for recent signs of a pack. We soon find wolf tracks.
So what have we got here?
This is an average size wolf, Canadian gray wolf, and some scat right here. See the chunks of bone in it? Wolves are able to do that. Even the femurs are just cut right in half, even on a moose bone. But they got such powerful jaws, they can crunch the bone and get the marrow out of the inside of them. In this particular pack here, there's just some whomping big wolves. So I think if we go up here a little bit further, we might be able to get them to howl.
Mike's life has become a frustrating fight to maintain his livelihood in the face of his rarely seen nemesis.
The Canadian gray wolf is not an endangered species. There's over 2 million wolves worldwide. 150 miles north of here in Canada and Alaska, there's over 70,000 wolves. So this wasn't the last place that a wolf population could ever survive. Come here, come on. Hey, Turbo, come on.
As they've emptied the forests of prey, wolves have started moving closer and closer to town. Many of the Popp family's dogs have been killed by them.
My daughter Irene lost her hound Vinny about 3 or 4 years ago, and that was hard for her to take.
The dog never came back, so my dad went to go find it, and he found it there, and there's a bunch of wolf pups by it, and yeah, it's pretty bad.
Her dog's death made it all the more disturbing for Irene when she was stalked by wolves herself, while waiting at the bottom of their driveway for the school bus.
It was kind of scary, but they just crossed the road right behind the bus, and yeah, so.
Yeah, what's it like living with them, having them around all the time?
Well, it's kind of scary, and since we just had one up on the property a little bit ago, we can't go up there without a grown-up or a gun or something, so yeah.
Mike says it's not only his family that's under threat, it's the entire community's rural way of life, and he believes it's deliberate.
Eco-terrorist groups or extreme environmentalists wanting to change the rules as far as access, as far as sport hunting, as far as the next generation enjoying learning about wildlife.
The conspiracy theorists are completely wrong. Every single governmental meeting I've been to about wolves, not one has spoken about, secretly or otherwise, destroying the rural way of life. In fact, almost all of us, including myself, grew up in rural America. Why would we want to do away with it?
Doug Smith believes the reintroduction has successfully restored Yellowstone's ecosystem to pre-European conditions, when elk and deer numbers were kept in check by wolves. Without their natural predator, their populations had skyrocketed.
They ate too much vegetation. When they eat the vegetation, they destroy habitat for other species. Songbirds, beavers are two that we've studied. And so it was an ecosystem that wasn't natural or the way we wanted it to be.
It's a tragedy. It's a tragedy, all the way around. They talk about a natural balance. Maybe they've obtained that because it's a tragedy for everything. It's a tragedy for wildlife, and it's tragedy for the human.
Follow us in if you like.
Jeremy Heft runs a small wolf education centre not far from Kamei, and he believes the animals themselves are not the problem.
Wolves should not be feared by people for their own personal safety, but still people do.
Just getting food for his captive wolves highlights their image problem. The local hatred is so strong that those who are willing to hand over carcasses like these do it anonymously to avoid recriminations.
Socially, it's been a long battle, and it still is a battle, and I think it's always going to be a battle. Because wolves, there's some aura about wolves that no one really seems to be able to explain.
Now anti-wolf vigilantism has taken off, with pictures like this appearing on Facebook. Jeremy sees the hatred of wolves as totally irrational, but deeply rooted in society.
There's a long history of mythology surrounding wolves that paints a very dark, evil creature. It actually goes back as far as the Bible. Little Red Riding Hood, Three Little Pigs. Who's always the bad guy? Always the wolf, right?
Changing people's perceptions is a long, slow process, but Jeremy believes attitudes can change.
There are some livestock producers that after sitting down and talking to us, they understand the animal. Once they understand it, they say, okay, wolves are okay until they kill my livestock, and then I'm going to kill them. I have no problem with that.
They'll chase that snow. Yeah, for sure.
For years, Jeff Sidaway had no problem with wolves, but now attacks on his sheep have become depressingly common. Last October, they had their worst loss yet, when a pack of wolves chased a flock to their deaths in a steep mountain gully.
We had a pile up of 119 lambs and 57 ewes.
All in one night.
In one night. And so it's just perpetual anymore. For the last 8 years, we've lost between $30,000 and $50,000 worth of sheep every year.
Those losses, combined with low prices for livestock, have made Jeff consider selling the family ranch.
It just breaks my heart. I mean, that's what Sidaways do, is we run sheep. That's what we've done for years, generations and generations, 125 years. And
you don't want to quit just yet.
And I don't. It just literally, you think about that and it just brings tears to my eyes.
Jeff Sidaway says many in the state feel the same, that they've been lumbered with a problem that Washington created.
I think a lot of us are just totally frustrated with the federal government and how they've handled the wolf reintroduction and how they've handled the compensation program. They're authorized to pay money to people that lose their livestock, but there's no money to pay.
So decades after wolves were originally eradicated, Jeff believes it's time to talk once again of hiring trappers or restarting last century's bounty system.
I don't think you can expect the people of Idaho to live with the population that we have now. We have to push that population back down.
Longer hunting seasons and bigger quotas may one day drive down the wolf numbers in rural states. But back in their Yellowstone safe haven, they're proving to be unlikely stars, drawing wolf-watching tourists from around the world.
There's so many similarities between human social behavior and wolf social behavior. Both species live in family groups. Both species have to cooperate together to earn their living.
So we can relate to them in a way that we can't to another species.
Yes. There was once an anthropologist who said there are no two species on Earth that are so similar in social behavior as wolves and humans, and the more I watch them, the more I think that's true.
It seems as much as we may be afraid of wolves, we will always be fascinated by them.